Greetings, this is Ty Brown, and welcome to the One Question Leadership Podcast, where we highlight executive and organizational leadership. Our guest today is Dr. John Porter. Dr. Porter is the Chief Executive Officer and President of the Lindenwood Education System, and Dr. Yancy Freeman, Chancellor of University of Tennessee Martin. Greetings, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Great to be here with you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I want to make sure I get a little background right. Dr. Freeman, background is in admissions, enrollment management, and student success. You were most recently Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs and Enrollment Management, actually. So
okay, in enrollment management. And then Dr. Porter, you've been there for a few years. And last we talked about how you brought all your business sense to grow this Lindenwood education system into more than just a campus with students, but it's a whole ecosystem, right?
That's correct. Correct. We made 2 acquisitions in the last couple of years, as well as being a part of Lindenwood University.
Okay, yeah, I think that's excellent. What I want to talk to you about is there's 3 things I want to hit on here: the president's increasing role in college athletics, the adventurous path to stability in the Ohio Valley Conference, and then also creativity and leadership. And I think in terms of a president, you kind of have to be able to, specifically creativity and specifically college athletics, you have to be in tune to what's going on, and then you have to make decisions or help athletic directors make decisions that help the athletics department enhance the mission of the university. And I'll start with you, Dr. Porter. You know, last we talked about the acquisitions and how you were building the Lindenwood education system there, and athletics is a big part of that. So when you see, you know, if you talk about like what they call P4, and you see private equity coming in, you see big money, and it's like, okay, that's fine for athletics, but we're also an institution of research, institution of graduating people, and the majority of people on campus are not student athletes. And so talk to me a little bit about the president's involvement in college athletics from your point of view.
Well, you know, fortunately at Lindenwood, I love athletics. I was an athlete myself. And so being a part of a university that we're one of the largest athletic universities in the country with 40 teams here. So we've got our NCAA and our student life sports, things like rugby and different types of athletics. So I love going to many of our athletic events that we have here on campus and outside. And so I'm a big part of what we're doing and how we're trying to drive athletics at Lindenwood. Now, the landscape certainly has changed dramatically. And so we have, you know, like all chancellors and presidents, looking at how we can build on our athletics, but, you know, how we can look outside of athletics, at least for those firms that are willing to invest. And so like everybody else, you're seeing more and more in the last couple of months of folks that have been, you know, looking at equity firms to come in and invest and give opportunity to, you know, be a part of NIL. And so I think we're all looking for creative ways that we can drive that. Now, you know, personally at a local level, you know, we're doing probably what most universities are doing, looking at our alums, looking at business owners that are in the community that really want to see success for Lindenwood. And so we're working with them and looking for creative ways that we can really drive more attendance at each of those venues, but also we can provide some type of funding to be able to compete at higher levels, you know, with NIL money and other things that are available to college athletics.
Does the system that you built there, when you talk about, for the lack of a better word, the revenue from the acquired acquisitions that you've done,
yeah,
does a part of that go to athletics, or is it all just come back and let's continue to grow either endowments or let's continue to grow profit and loss here on campus? Or tell me, how does athletics fit into what you've built already there?
Yeah. So what the system does, and so the 3 entities within the system, you know, we went from about 100 million to 400 million in terms of revenue, top line revenue. And so the system itself provides 2 really good things. It provides cash and capital. And so the cash, you know, every institution at some point in time, there's cycles in terms of need of cash. When you got fall and spring, you know, you got an influx of cash, but then it tends to thin out towards the end of the school year, end of the semester. And so what the system does is provides cash to everybody in the system, so the 3 entities. And so that's what's great about having the system. The other piece, though, is the capital. And so I think, you know, we're we're only we acquired our second acquisition in April of this year, and so it'll take 2 or 3 years before we're able to get some of the cash and capital that we want to have in the system that will be able to not only take care of capital projects on campus, but there is a potential that we can use that capital for other things on the athletics side, whether it be in buildings, facilities, programs. Yeah, we're very excited, and we know we've got a 5-year plan that's built for all three entities in terms of the revenue, EBITDA, and the net income. And so we think we're going to be in really good shape. It'll take a little time for us to get this rolling, but with these two acquisitions, we're well on our way.
That makes sense. So you have to let the businesses grow a little bit before you can start. Yeah, that makes sense. Dr. Freeman, you talk about student affairs, enrollment management, and admissions, and really the student affairs part is understanding the pulse of the students on campus, right? And our president's role, looking at it all, the potential excitement and pride that athletics brings on a college campus, I mean, at the current moment, almost demands a whole lot of attention from the president, demands resources from that type of thing. So tell me about coming into this position the last couple of years, your thought process when you start looking at athletics and understanding the temperature of faculty and students with regard to pride in the school and those types of things.
Oh, that's a great question and a loaded question in a lot of ways. I'll just say to you that there is a lot of difference sitting in the president's role versus sitting in an enrollment management student affairs role. As you could probably imagine, athletics is the front door to many institutions, right? When institutions are doing well and are really competitive and you're getting national press, we've seen that there is a direct correlation to increased applications for students applying, increased enrollment for students. There is more student pride as students participate and engage in athletics. And, you see sales go up in terms of paraphernalia that students, faculty, community will wear when teams are winning. So in many ways, athletics is a front door. The majority of the time, that's really, really good news. Sometimes it's not so great news. And so you have to deal with both of those sort of circumstances and situations. I deal with that more now and think about that more now in this role as chancellor of an institution than I did when I was student affairs and enrollment management. Athletics takes up a lot of my time. It really does, because I am not only meeting and talking about how we find donors and push donors to help us with the academic arena that's here. Well, a large part of the funds that we have for our campus are coming in for our athletic programs and to support athletics. And so I spend a lot of time there. There's not much changing in NCAA life. There's a lot changing in NCAA life right now. And so just managing the dynamics of everything that has changed. I have said that the cheese has moved for college athletics across the entire country. And so how you navigate that, it creates sort of this intrusive executive positioning and role to be able to help our campuses manage through it, because we are born on our campus. It's a pride for us.
Yeah, it is important. You can't ignore it. It's not, from my perspective, I've never been a president or anything like that, but you can't ignore this thing that is continuously calling your attention to it. I do wonder, and this is a question I've asked presidents before, I've asked athletic directors before, faculty, when, I want to support our history program, I want to support our research here, and I could look over athletics and how much money is going over there. So I wonder about balancing. There's always, I think, some faculty who probably aren't on board, right? And you have to be kind of the person to say, hey, everything is important. Everything we're doing is important, athletics and everything. Any one of you want to comment on that aspect of the balance of faculty and athletics and the faculty who may not be completely on board?
Yeah, Oh, President Porter, I can at least start us, and then you can finish this out or add any additional thoughts. I would say here at UTM, our athletic director, our coaches, our student athletes are so ingrained in the community that it really does help in many ways. If we're making some investment in athletics on our campus, then it really does help when they are sort of setting the mold for what a UTM student looks like. They are creating this point or place of pride for our community and for the folks who are here. The only way to do that is to get them engaged and to make sure that they're going to class, that they are excellent students, that they have the support that they need. And so we try to focus a lot of our attention there. It is a dance, though. I will absolutely admit that it is a dance for our institution, as it probably is for many others. There are lots and lots of competing opportunities for our campus to fund things. And so we try to walk through it as best we can by hitting those things that are very high priority. And the athletics director is part of the executive cabinet on our campus and is involved and engaged in funding decisions about what we do across the campus, with a keen eye to say, okay, we've got to make sure we spread the love here in terms of funding across many different areas. But it's a dance.
Yeah, I imagine it is. Dr. Porter.
Yeah, so I agree with Dr. Freeman. Athletics in many instances is it's the window into the university, and so I think it plus it the experience that a student gets by being a part of athletics or going to an athletic event, I think it just rounds out the student. So it's really, really important. But there is a balance, and I've had discussions with my coaches and said, our number one priority at Lindenwood is academics. I mean, we want to graduate our students, whether you're a student athlete or not. But a close second is our athletics. And so as we announce dollars that we're going to be doing for certain campaigns, a lot of times I'm splitting it 50-50. And so it's really, really important. You think about the infrastructure here at Lindenwood. We've got some buildings that we need to build here, sciences and different things. And so that is a top priority. And in the future, we've got some things that we want to do on the athletics side there. And so it's not an easy balance. And but let's successful competition in athletics, really reaps and builds more enrollment. And so you think about, when we can have winning teams, that attract students to want to come to Lindenwood. It also, allows for us to fill those classrooms. And so therefore we're helping on the academic side. And so obviously the revenues that we bring in, for the tuition and room and board, that's going for the whole university, but it does provide, hopefully there's margin there that provides opportunity for both the academic side and the athletic side. And so you got to really have a balanced approach.
Yeah, and as long as I guess the athletic department understands the purpose, right? Purpose of the athletics department is to enhance the academic mission of the university. It's something I heard Dr. Livingstone say from Baylor years ago. Yeah. And so her being a former athlete too, right? Understanding that, hey, we're just enhancing this academic mission. We're not on our own out here. So that's excellent. I recently had a conversation with Sean Frazier. Sean is the vice president of intercollegiate athletics and recreation at Northern Illinois. And with Northern Illinois, they've been in the MAC for a while. And this upcoming year, they left the MAC. So in football, they will be in I believe it's the Mountain West. And then in all other Olympic sports, they'll be in the Horizon League. And what that did for them was save money on Olympic sports. Football is going to be an expense no matter what, right? And he talked about just it made sense for them to do it, to leave. It was a tough decision that took years to strategize. And so when you look at Ohio Valley Conference and you look at like schools leaving, like it almost looked like a Pac-12 situation where you were going to see, decimation of a conference that had been around for a while. And it's like, what's really happening here? But I've just is my assumption here from the outside looking in, the leadership of the conference, commissioner or presidents stepped in. I think Dr. Porter, you being the chair, had to step in and figure out how to stabilize that. Talk to me about the mindset when was it Tennessee Tech or Little Rock? Like
Yeah.
just when those things started happening, and then now what do we need to do? How do we need to strive? How do I need to get away from all this stuff we're doing academically, the research and dealing with these professors, to go over here and think about athletics as a president and make sure we stay stable as a conference?
Well, I'll just say this. I honestly, when Tennessee Tech decided that they were leaving the conference, it certainly made all of us take a step back and try to understand where we were in the conference, in the OVC conference. I will tell you, though, we're thrilled where we are right now, because actually we have come together so much stronger and tighter as a conference. We've been a part of this as our 4th year than I've ever seen. And so what it did was it allowed us, or maybe it made us all get on a call as presidents and chancellors and really talk about where are we, where do we want to go. And so with our commissioner resigning, it's given us opportunity to look at new leadership and look at new strategies and put the emphasis on what we want to do as a conference and where we want to build as a conference. And so, we've been having these calls with the presidents, chancellors, and with the ADs. So this has truly been, a team effort. And so I'll tell you, we are stronger today than we've ever have been. And we're also have engaged outside company to look at our strategy, look at where we're going, looking at our infrastructure. Are we as efficient as we can be? Are we aligned the way we ought to be? Are we structured well? And how do we look at the future, and what are some of the key things that we want to be looking at in the future? And so we're already on that. So not only are we doing the search for the new commissioner, we've already engaged a consulting firm on the strategy piece. And so I'd say this with, Tennessee Tech and SEMO and some of the other schools, all of us really said, you know what, we want to be here. Our best option is to strengthen the OVC and be a part of the OVC. And that's what we've all committed to as presidents and chancellors. And so I couldn't be more thrilled with our stabilization, with our strategy moving forward, or working on our strategy moving forward, and the fact that we're all of one mind. So, Yancy, let me give your thoughts there.
I think you said that so beautifully and articulately that I don't know that I can add anything else other than to say I am thrilled to be in a conference with this outstanding group of presidents and outstanding group of institutions who are there. I think President Porter is absolutely right. When Tennessee Tech decided that they were going to, leave the conference, it sent a ripple through the conference. But as presidents, as we decided we were going to step in, it gave us a chance to get eye to eye with each other and to say, okay, are you committed? Are you committed? Are you committed? And everyone said yes. And if the answer to that is yes, where do we go from here? How do we strengthen ourselves? And we are absolutely on the right pathway to be able to, to come back stronger, better, more improved. And I see OVC continuing to just be a giant in NCAA and in college athletics for many, many years to come.
Yeah, what's interesting is that there were, from what I understand, there were a couple of other schools. I don't know if Tennessee Martin was one of them, but there were a couple other schools that were actually considering it. Maybe it's time for us to go, look for greener pastures, right? Or whatever you want to call it. It does take strength for leaders to get together and say, hey, it might not be that green. We're greener here. Tell me about that aspect of actually talking to schools that were thinking about leaving and helping them understand their strategic vision.
Yeah, some of that is just the natural tendency, right? It is the natural tendency. You have an institution that was a key partner within the conference decide that they're gonna walk away. The natural tendency is for everyone to say, wait, okay, what's going on? How do we sort of stabilize ourselves? What do we do? How do we do this in a constructive way to keep and sustain the conference? Yeah. So while I think some of it was a natural tendency, it really emboldened in a lot of ways the presidents to say, okay, this is a real opportunity for us to step up and engage and participate in a process that renews our commitment to the conference, to each other, to our student athletes, and to the sustainability of the conference overall. There were some candid, very, very candid conversations, open conversations between the presidents, and I appreciated it because I think it made us closer than ever. I've been in this role for 2.5 years, And what I feel now, based on the conversations that we've had, is I could call any of them at any time, day or night, and I have no doubt that they would be there, right? And not just about college athletics. This job can be a tough one and a lonely one to sort of navigate, but advice about anything. So I think we've created a partnership in that way, just based on this small hill that we've kind of overcome to talk about sustainability for the conference.
Yeah. I'll come right to you, Dr. Porter. Here, what I understand is that friction is actually good for cohesion and for moving forward, but then also challenges as a group are good for team building and culture within something. Dr. Porter, talk to me a little bit about that, about talking to other presidents about why, hey, this is why you should stick around here, and the type of conversations those were, especially in the beginning, right?
Yeah. Well, and Dr. Freeman was really, very transparent. Several of the presidents were transparent because obviously there were folks that had been gotten in contact with to say, hey, you should join our conference. And so we spoke openly about that. And I think the transparency is what moved us along. And so we were able to, there was no elephant in the room. We actually said, oh, hey, let's talk about this and let's really, really see. And what we actually said was, listen, if these certain things happen, are we willing to stay together as a conference? And unanimously, it was yes, absolutely. And so looking at our strategic direction and looking at some of the things that we want to do from an infrastructure perspective, looking at strong leadership going forward. Yeah, the early talks were get the elephant. What's the elephant in the room, and let's really chat about it and talk about it. And we had 7 a.m. conference calls on Saturday mornings, and so it was awesome to have the level of transparency. But it was great also. The ADs are so important. That's really where the rubber meets the road. ADs know everything about what's going on. And the fact that we've got ADs that are part of our process, they're part of our thinking, and they're an integral part of our team. It was great to get their feedback and input also. And so it wasn't just the presidents and chancellors. So those early discussions were about, hey guys, if we do these things, can we make it stronger? And are we willing to stay together as a unit? And everybody, it really was unanimous that, yeah, we're going to go do this together. We're going to make it stronger. And you know what? We didn't waste any time, and we got on it just like that. And like I said, we already have the search firm in place. We've already got the separate consulting engagement in place, right, and we're off and rolling. So I couldn't be more thrilled.
Is there, when I look to see what's out there publicly, I noticed the increase in the exit fee. Are there other things that were put in place that you can share publicly that, let me see how I can put this, that don't, because there's a lot of thoughts coming right here right now, all at the same time, right? It's, you think about, you want to set a vision for the conference, but we don't necessarily have a commissioner in place, right? Because the commissioner may come in with some values that actually can add to that vision, whatever vision is set. So I wonder about the things that are public that have been put in place to help stabilize, but then also when you start thinking about the future, what can you and have you done, but what are the limits on that without a commissioner in place to help, execute and further a strategic vision?
I'll say this, and then Dr. Freeman, you can speak also. I think, we've raised the bar for ourselves within the conference from an exit fee perspective. We just said, you know what, we'll raise the bar because, we're serious about that we want to be here. We really want to stabilize it. I don't think if you look at, we've got a kind of a two-pronged strategy in terms of the consulting engagement that we're currently in. And one is obviously how we grow the conference. And we're getting specific in terms of football playing schools and other, athletics and we've got lists and folks that we want to go after. And so we're going to drive that as part of this. As I mentioned, the other piece was, are we built right from an infrastructure within the OVC organization? And so we're actually looking at everything. And so, but I think again, this leaves nothing to the imagination with the transparency that we're having with ourselves. And I think approaching it this way is going to be fantastic. Now, part of the strategy, the consulting engagement, is we're holding off a little bit. There's kind of this two-phase. The reason we got it in the two-phase is because we want our new commissioner to come in. We want them to be a part of it. We don't want them to come in and just say, wow, I'm not so sure I'm on board with that strategy. So parts of it we're doing quickly that we can do that doesn't take commissioner leadership. And the other part, we're kind of holding a little bit so that the commissioner can be part of that and help us scope this and shape this and take ownership and accountability of it.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. Dr. Freeman.
Yeah, I would just say I agree with President Porter. I am what I think you also see from this is presidential engagement in the process, right? So while we do want a commissioner who is engaged and active and contributing to the strategy for our conference, we know that what makes the conference are the institutions. And so if we're not fully engaged, if we're not fully there, not fully contributing, it does not go well. This sort of realignment that we've done, the strategy that we're starting to put in place right now, and that will complete once the new commissioner is hired and on board, strengthens us overall, right? And so I think what you see, at least early in some of the strategy things that President Porter has talked about, engaging a firm to help us with strategy, engaging a firm to help us with the search for the new commissioner, doing things like increasing the exit fee for the conference. All of those things, to me, spell commitment to the conference overall.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's excellent. You think about the position, the commissioner position, and what you want to see it do, and you think about the type of leaders both of you are respectively. Dr. Porter comes from business, Dr. Freeman coming from student affairs and enrollment management, and making sure the experience of students on campus are at the most highest, and bringing people on campus. I wonder the input from presidents who have different backgrounds throughout the conference, right? From whatever their expertise was to whatever they do now, what they have leaned into. I wonder how you, and I probably should know this from talking to ADs who have hired coaches or other presidents who have hired ADs, but tell me about the input of everybody's different expertise and what would be important for their campus to have a commissioner who can take everybody's insight in and pick somebody who actually values all the different perspectives that each campus brings and campus president.
Yeah, I would just say, in a joking, not joking manner, we probably need somebody who can walk on water without making a ripple, right? That's kind of what we're looking for.
Yeah.
This is someone who is able to take, in some instances, competing options, competing things for institutions, and putting it in a place where everybody feels seen and heard, in a strategy and in a process overall. So the ability to kind of do that, we need someone who's going to be visible, highly visible on the campuses and in athletic engagements, making sure that we know that they're there and that they are participating. Here's one of the things that I've also learned through this engagement with the presidents. There are a lot of type A personalities in the room. And because they have reached really at the pinnacle of their careers in some situations, they're CEOs of campuses. They are driven and want to see the best for their campuses. We need an AD who will come in and want to see the best for our conference and the best for the institutions that are engaged. And so as we think about who this next person will be, they'll need to do all of those things, at least in my mind.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me just add to that. The first off, we got a great team of presidents, chancellors, and ADs. I mean, we get along really, really. I really like this team, and I respect everyone that's on the team. I would just say, as we look at a commissioner, like, what are we looking for? Listen, person that's got a lot of energy, vision, is an implementer, is transparent, has integrity. I mean, maybe doesn't walk on water quite yet, but I mean, those are the kinds of things that we want in our commissioners. So, and I guess, the last thing I would say is respect. This is a highly visible position. And if anything, we want to elevate the stature of the OVC. And so we elevate the stature by having a person that's respected, is known for their integrity, and is going to drive us and attract, other schools to be a part of it. So, it's listen, we have high expectations. We're going to bring in an A+ person, and it really is going to help us move the conference forward.
Right. Yeah, it's important. One of the I guess topics I shared with you before we started was about creativity and leadership. And Dr. Porter, we spent, it had to be 35 minutes talking about bringing your experience into the Lindenwood system, and then basically for the lack of a better word, imposing your imposing your philosophy and personality on, hey, this thing can be a business and we can grow this thing, right? Tell me a little bit about that with respect to the conference, right? The creativity you have and you bring with respect to the conference and being the chair of the presidents.
Yeah, listen, I wouldn't want to give myself a pat on the back for the creativity of what I bring to the OVC. I don't think that I would deserve those accolades. But I think if anything, the timing was, it just so happens I'm the chair of the OVC now because my last name ends with a P. And so we're in alphabetical order. So my turn was up. And so, but I would just tell you, I think what I bring, at least from a business perspective, is the discipline of what it is to run a business. And so as we look at the OVC and we look at this as a business, you take a look at all facets of the enterprise and you look at where there's need for improvement. And as we as a team, and by the way, I can't take any credit. I take credit, all the presidents, chancellors, and ADs take credit. When we take a look and say, hey, here's what needs to happen. My role as the chair is just to say, hey, I'll lead some discussion, but the presidents and chancellors and ADs came up with, here's an executable plan that we want to go drive. And so I think whether I bring that from a business perspective or we as a team of professionals bring that forward, that's what it's all been about. And I would just tell you, we're executing on the things that we said we would go do. And that's what's really, really exciting is that we're seeing, again, it's short in the process and we've got a long way to go, but what we said we were going to do, we've done, and we've done it rather quickly here. So I guess, again, that's part of the execution phase. And when we say we're going to do something, we're going to go do it. And I think, that's what any successful business would do. And I think that's what the OVC is doing.
Yeah, I'd say that's what you brought to it too, right? Which in my opinion is excellent. We'll pat you on the back, right? Dr. Freeman, now when looking online, you can't see. I couldn't find the deep creativity perspective that you bring, but what I did see, like I mentioned before, was this inherent passion for the student experience and bringing more students on campus. Tell me about creativity and leadership in terms of you there on campus, but then also in terms of you being involved at the conference level.
Yeah, for me, it is about strategy and helping to build strategy, right? I think you will not do what you do not plan. And so for me, it's about strategy, and it's part of what I've done my entire career. Enrollment management does not happen from mishap. It occurs because of really well planned out strategy that you implement over time, and you begin to see enrollment, admissions turns to acceptance turns into enrollment turns into persistence, and that turns into graduation. All of that is done with great strategy. Experience and building experience is done through great strategy. So I hope the piece that I bring to the table is this opportunity to talk about strategic initiatives and how we move forward and what makes sense, right? What's the outcome that we're hoping for, and how do we get there in the best way in terms of what are those steps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 steps to get toward where we want to go. I think that's hopefully a value add for the group, and something that I try to contribute in dealing with and in negotiating with the presidents and ADs within the conference. And so the things we've done, as I've stated, I think are very strategic. They're very targeted, and they set us up in a really chronological way for the next successive steps to keep us going.
Okay, excellent. I'll ask one question each of both of you, specifically about your athletic directors. Dr. Freeman, I mean, think about this. You come on 2 years ago, you got an AD who's been there roughly 8 years,
yes.
Right? And so obviously being there as long as you have, you've been paying attention to athletics, but now you're talking to the athletic director beyond a, enrollment conversation, beyond the admissions, beyond the student athlete experience conversation. It's like, okay, we're leading this thing here. So tell me about the, for lack of a better word, onboarding in terms of athletics for you and the educational experience that you went through when you became chancellor to be able to help athletics to be successful.
Yeah, thank you. Fortunately, I have an outstanding athletic director here, Kurt McGuffin, who has been with our institution, as you stated, 8 years. He is For me, that brings continuity to our institution. He knows UTM athletics. He knows what's happening on the national front because he's been around it so long.
Right.
He is a trusted entity in our neck of the woods, in this community, and with this campus, and I think with a group of ADs who are there. It was a process for me to kind of understand bells and whistles, how you're funded, why you're funded, in these areas. What types of changes have you made in the last 5 years with athletics? How are you engaged on campus, and how are we engaging faculty and staff in the process of helping to become early adopters and advocates for athletics? And are there challenges there for me that I need to deal with as we think about how we fund athletics for the campus overall? Kurt has done a magnificent job. I feel very fortunate to have him working with UTM, and I think at least based on what I've been able to see, he's a well-respected AD across the country and certainly within the OVC.
Yep. Excellent. Dr. Porter, Jason, from my interactions in terms of interview, he knows what he's doing. He's on point. He's very tuned in to try to make things operate at a high level. And then he has a healthy respect for you in terms of what you've done with the Lindenwood system. Tell me a little bit about that aspect of relationship between you and Jason Cole.
Yeah. No, much like Chancellor Freeman, Jason is just, we hired him, I think 3 years ago now. And right when we went D1, right after we announced D1, and we had a leadership change there. And I was fortunate that, he was just across the bridge. So over at SIUE and so he didn't have to move. But the double bonus that we got was he had already established relationships and had networked in the St. Louis area. And so he came in, running day one and already had built relationships that we took advantage of right away, some of our sponsorships and things. And so that's been fantastic. Jason, I just pulled Jason onto, I have 3 councils at Lindenwood, and one of them, the top council, is our strategy council. And a month ago, I added Jason to our strategy council.
Okay.
Every major decision of Lindenwood goes through our strategy council, and there's only 6 people on it. And so the fact that my AD is on that tells you a lot about his ability to look beyond athletics. It's he cares about the university. And when you care about the university, you're going to make decisions that are best for the university, not just for athletics. Now, one of the things that he's done in athletics, he's brought discipline there. So as I look at all the coaches, he's got over 100 coaches with 40 teams, so a lot of coaches. And so that's quite a number to manage. And so I know he has commanded the respect naturally from all those coaches. And so I appreciate his input for things outside of athletics, as well as when Jason calls and tells me, here's what's happening. I trust it. Excuse me. I trust his judgment. And he is really helping to move the university forward, not just athletics. And the other thing is, he's brought in some great leadership here. And so we've been able to, I say that because I can't take any credit. We've been able to compete, from the very start. And so for us to do what we've been able to do, being so young in the D1 environment, I have to attribute to Jason, his staff that he's brought in, and certainly the coaches and their leadership. So, but I love that big umbrella view that he brings, and it's not a selfish view of athletics. It's a teaming of the university.
Yeah. Well, I always hear in talking to athletic directors, they always say the relationship with the president or chancellor is of the utmost importance. And it's refreshing to hear the president say the same exact thing. All right, look, we got to have a relationship with these athletic directors if we want to lead this department, because they're there for a reason, and that's to do their job. We're here for a reason, and that's to lead the university. Gentlemen, I really appreciate you joining us here on the One Question Leadership Podcast.
Thank you. It's been great talking with you and spending time.
Yeah, thanks, Ty. It was fantastic having this discussion.
Yep, that was Dr. Yancy Freeman. He's the chancellor at University of Tennessee Martin, and Dr. John Porter, chief executive officer and president of Lindenwood Education System. And of course, I'm Ty Brown with One Question. And keep in mind, the role of a leader is to create and maintain an environment that people want to be a part of. And as always, be better tomorrow than you are today. This episode of the One Question Leadership Podcast is produced by Spades Media Group, solving problems using creative leadership.